Focus Forward Business Design. I am Leigh Wilson, your certified high performance coach. We've all heard about showing up, and it's kind of becoming a cliche phrase. What does it exactly mean, and where are we showing up, and for whom? I like the idea of showing up as my best self. I mean, it sounds like something that I would want to do, right? As I think of the phrasing of that, though, I see in my mind the loving, giving person that we all strive to be, presenting themselves to others. So if I have the visual of what that looks like, then why do so many people not show up often? After all, it doesn't seem like this simple picture that I have drawn in my head should be that difficult. I'm going to break this down just a bit deeper, and we're going to start with who we show up for, and then break it into what do those that show up do differently. So let's jump into this. Get those journals out, and let's see if you're showing up every day as your very best self. Now, this seems so basic, but it goes back to the old adage that you can't love someone else until you love yourself. The same is true for showing up as your best self. The first person that you must show up for is you. You're an amazing individual, and you need to show yourself every day just how incredible you are and how much you have to contribute to your own happiness, your success, and the pride you have in the things that you've accomplished. And better yet, the things that you have yet to show the world. So I want to share 5 ways for you to check in and see how you are showing up for yourself. I challenge you, write these down, and I want you to evaluate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of these areas. Be tough on yourself. If you really did not act or behave like you would like to have had, then score yourself appropriately and ask yourself, what could you have done differently? This gives you the great feedback for the following week. This is something that you can add to your Sunday check-in for the week and see how those scores change as you go through weeks where everything is really easy versus weeks where it seems like everything is a struggle. It's funny how when things tend to go sideways, even if we were not the cause of it, how we tend to not show up as our best, even to ourselves. All right, number 1, acknowledge where you're at right now. We know that to find clarity in what we want and where we are going, we must know where we're starting. Give yourself the respect to acknowledge where you're at in the very important areas of your life today. These areas are ones that you're going to decide on based on what's most important to you. So you're going to probably find yourself writing down things like family, relationships, career, business growth, spiritual, education, personal growth, and contribution. Those are categories that will likely appear in many people's lists. You may want to write out your most important areas and rate yourself in each area. None of us are going to be equal in all categories, and oftentimes find one category is really strong, while another is suffering greatly. All right, number 2, what are you saying to yourself? Self-talk is one of the strongest forces that we have and that we can work on either positively or negatively. You have probably witnessed or even personally experienced a child that's been told over and over how dumb they are because they didn't achieve the grades their parents thought they should. Or maybe convincing them they're destined to be poor because that's just the way it always has been, and so why would it ever be any different? That child oftentimes grows up with these beliefs and keeps reiterating them over and over to themselves as adults until they truly believe that they are a bad person or they'll be poor forever. Therefore, why try or expect anything differently? It obviously doesn't have to be children. Many times in abusive relationships, that same negative energy can turn into awful self-talk. Now, it may not be that extreme, but it can be small things that you tend to tell yourself that are maybe not based in respect. Listen to yourself, especially when you're struggling, and pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. Would you say that to someone that you love and care for? If you wouldn't, then you shouldn't be saying it to you either. Stop at that point and rephrase that negative self-talk into something that will be more positive and it shows you love and respect. How's your self-talk? Take the time to rate yourself right now. All right, the third one is really related to the self-talk piece and gives you a process of really stepping it up a level. I'm talking about affirmations. Now, before you start pushing back here, I really want you to try this for at least a week. Define those areas that maybe you can motivate yourself or be kinder to that amazing person that you are. And come up with a couple of affirmations that you can repeat to yourself throughout the day. Maybe it even becomes one of your meditation mantras, if that's something that you do to ground yourself. I know that this can be hard at first. So many of us are raised to not have large egos. And at first glance, this can seem a little over the top in self-love. But I am telling you that there is no over the top in self-love if it is done with the intention of respecting and appreciating your mind, your body, and your soul. And giving yourself credit for all the outstanding attributes that you have. Number 4, express your gratitude every day. This is so important, and another one that I often find people meet with resistance. What I find really sad, though, and this is true stuff, is that when I ask someone to list 3 things that they are grateful for, I am met with silence. Recognizing the things that you're grateful for, it takes practice. As silly as that sounds, test it out. Take out your journal or a napkin or use your bathroom mirror and lipstick. Oh, by the way, did you know that dry erase markers work awesome on mirrors? Just a little tip for tricks. Okay, anyway, write out 10 things that you're grateful for. Then I want you to do that every day for a week and see how much easier it gets and how you start being really grateful for the smaller things. This is a wonderful activity to do with your children as well. What you will find, though, is that kids have no problem listing a million things that they're grateful for. As we get older, we tend to take things for granted or get a little bit jaded. Renew this habit every day, and you're going to be amazed at how it affects your overall view of the world. All right, the last one is to be kind to you. Set time aside to be good to yourself. That can look like time alone, a massage, reading a good book, or whatever brings you peace. Too often we get so wrapped up in getting everything done because the world is going by so quickly. This is one of the very best ways that you get to show up for you. By evaluating how you're showing up for yourself and really being cognizant of how you treat yourself, you will see a real difference in how you treat yourself every single day. All right, so what about showing up for others? What does that look like? Well, now that you're your own best advocate and you're showing up as you should for yourself, you are ready to be a champion for others. Showing up as your best self for others can mean that you sacrifice something to make someone else happy. This could be your time, energy, emotions, comfort, or pleasure. Showing up as your best self for others can have such a positive impact on both your day and theirs. You come across as energetic, caring, empathetic, a teacher, or whatever they may need in that moment. By showing up and engaging, you promote creativity, joy, and a feeling of well-being in those around you. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to start showing up for the ones around you. Number 1, be an amazing active listener. It could be listening to a coworker who just needs someone to be empathetic during a really tough time. Number 2, be okay with being vulnerable and showing empathy. People need to feel the trust, so they need to feel safe in opening up. Being transparent is the most genuine form of trust. Showing up for others can take on so many different looks. It can be as simple as showing up for someone and stepping in and helping care for a neighbor's sick child maybe when they can't be there. A number of years ago, I had a friend who was diagnosed with cancer. And as you can imagine, she was terribly scared. She lived alone and had no family nearby. We had recently been through our own cancer journey, and so it just seemed natural to step in and help her through appointments, understanding the medication, and helping her prepare her for what to potentially expect. At the time, I didn't label it as showing up as my best self. But years later, looking back, that was exactly what happened. If we showed up as our best automatically, then we know that we are coming from a place of intuition, generosity, confidence, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Showing up for others does not happen by accident. It takes practice and intentional effort. And as we talked about earlier, it requires you to show up for you first, which can be the toughest part of the road. You are an amazing individual with so much to give to others. We're a race that needs each other, and by learning to show up for others, we're all better, more compassionate, and stronger than we could ever be by going it alone.